Hey everybody, welcome to Cineprov. I am Larry Johnson. Tonight I am joined
by Don
and Lowry.
And this is The Terrible Truth.
Oh, thank you, Judge McKesson.
Hey, Judge McKesson, thanks so much for the flowers, too.
Hey, Judge McKesson, thanks for the fruit basket.
Thanks for the box of chocolates.
Thanks for the kitty.
Thanks for desegregation.
And thank you for the fight on communism.
If anyone had ever told me a few years ago that we would ever read headlines like these in American newspapers, I would have called him crazy. Yet
just don't get the far side.
In the middle of the 20th century in the United States of America,
I'd like to live in America. We want to live in America.
Hopeless dope addicts every year.
It's a bull market for hopeless dope addicts in America.
It's terrible, but it's true. The government maintains 2 hospitals just to treat drug addicts.
2 whole hospitals,
Lexington, Kentucky, and Fort Worth, Texas.
West Coast is screwed.
It used to be a rare thing for a juvenile to be admitted, but look at these recent figures.
And that's just
remember,
the cast
these
of different
are
strokes.
Confirmed addicts.
Now, where's the crack pipe I asked for?
How many others are still only occasional users of marijuana or heroin, morphine, or in some cases sleeping pills?
Or bath salts.
It's pretty hard to estimate. But there's one sure thing.
I'm hot.
Nobody is going to stay an occasional user very long. This is one game nobody beats.
No fuzz around. Time to make my score.
Before long, you'll have the habit.
We can
about
only
the
wish.
in the world to break. And the dope addicts say,
okay, pull it together. Make sure I have myself in the right frame of mind. Here we go.
The simplest way to answer that is to talk to
Be
someone
brave, be
who has had
brave,
the
be
experience.
brave.
This is the home of Mr. and Mrs. Walter Howard. They just got
hello,
their
sir,
teenage
madam.
daughter
Can I
back
interest you
after
in
a
some heroin
6-month
today?
Nightmare that even Edgar Allan Poe couldn't have improved on.
Nevermore, nevermore.
Mrs. Howard agrees to let us talk to her daughter, Phyllis, when we explain that we could use her case to help others avoid the same mistakes.
Ew,
This is
Kim
Phyllis as she
Kardashian
looked
without
6
makeup.
months ago, a senior in high school, pretty as a picture.
She came with a
Just
frame.
recently, she was released from the narcotic ward of the county jail.
Put
in
the picture
custody
down
of
and
her
back
parents.
away.
It's hard to believe that this girl is the same as the one in the picture, but it doesn't take long for the drug habit to make anyone
We'll just
over.
talk amongst ourselves then. Keep talking? Pretend we're talking more?
This is us talking.
So we'll just keep talking then, and we'll say,
Phyllis
can we...
wasn't anxious to talk about her experiences with dope, but
Or with complete
she could
strangers.
see how her story might be used to help others, and she began to talk.
With the help of a couple of roofies.
Hi, I brought the
Yes, I know about
Bible.
reefers. That's marijuana, ever since junior high. Some of the boys smoked them.
The ethnic
ones
boys.
who couldn't get along, who were afraid of everything. You know, the ones with no backbone.
The ones with all front bone.
In high school, my girlfriend Ann and I went around with Jim and Bob.
They were our beards.
They both smoked pot.
Hi, I'm a young
That's
Bill Murray. Let me
jive
light
talk
that for you.
marijuana. And after a
Jive?
while, Ann and I
That must
got
be
so that we
Ebonics
did
for
too.
white people in the 50s.
It's funny what it does to you. Everything speeds up to 100 miles an hour.
Honey,
You
get
think
down
you're
here. You
real
can't
tough,
suck anything
and
from
you
up there.
laugh a lot. You feel like you're the biggest person in the
I hope
world.
she falls.
Fall, fall.
Fall.
But I didn't feel so good when I came home high.
Come
that
on, you have never
My
felt
dad
better.
knew something
Come,
was
dear,
wrong,
I'll get you a
but he didn't
scotch.
know what. Mother
I
was
have
sure
no
her
daughter.
daughter would never do anything bad. I'd been smoking pot for quite a while before I met Chuck.
What up, Chuck?
I guess he was what the newspapers call a peddler. He supplied the kids
Best
at
dressed
school
peddler in
with whatever they
town.
wanted. Most of them used reefers like us, but some liked stronger things.
Sweet
There
shirt,
was
bro.
something intriguing and
Sir,
different
do you have
about
any
Chuck.
bubblegum cigarettes I
guess
could buy?
appealed to him in some way too. Anyway, I found out later what it was about him. He had the heroin habit. He was hooked. Chuck and I started running around together, and one
By
night
running
he asked
around,
me
I
up
mean
his place.
fucking.
I knew by now he started peddling after he got the habit, so he could get aid for himself. He needed a lot.
Where should I
'cause he had a
stick?
big habit.
No.
You know something about hypes? They're like a disease. They don't like to see anybody not using this stuff.
Come on,
just
baby,
because
chase
they
the
do.
dragon. It'll shrink your
Chuck finally
collar.
talked me into using heroin.
She could have talked you out of that
He said it
shirt.
would make him feel better. So I tried it.
That's
But
good
I was really
horse.
smart. Just take it or leave it. Nothing was going
I
to
was
happen to
so
me.
horny.
But before I knew it, I was hooked. Bad.
Where's her left
I had
hand
a
and what's it
heroin habit
doing?
as big as Chuck. I hadn't been home in weeks. Oh, Chuck and I were married, but it didn't matter very much. Nothing does.
I turned into Samari
Nothing
from
on
The
it.
Ring.
All you think about day and night is dope. How much you've got, where to get more, what you'll do if you can't get it. And then they'd got Chuck. They had
Chuck,
to eventually
have you
find
been
me
running
after-
around with the police?
Nothing did except age.
I loved Chuck very much.
If Chuck had seen the cops coming...
Yeah,
he
if
might
Chuck
have
wasn't
got
such a
rid of our
dumbass,
supply.
he would have gotten caught.
That's what happened.
On the
Chuck
bright
got rid of
side, the
everything.
house was finally getting cleaned.
Probably in the garbage disposal.
That
That's
disposal
a
looks like
favorite
a
trick
light
of Hyde's
fixture.
when they're going to be arrested. But it left me in an awful
Let's
spot.
see. Glue,
I
paint
needed a
thinner,
big
magic
bag.
marker.
So
How am I
bad
supposed to get
didn't know
high?
whether I lived or died. And I didn't know whether I'd ever get another cap.
That's a little dramatic.
It's a madhouse, a madhouse!
In the meantime, Phyllis's parents had nearly gone crazy. They hadn't
What's her
seen
name
or
again?
heard from their daughter in months.
Frances, Fanny.
Mr.
Oh,
Howard checked
Phyllis.
every newspaper story that might by any remote chance have to do with Phyllis.
Father was nearly
But
frantic enough to
gradually
leave
their
the
hopes
couch and
died.
actually look for her.
They were almost convinced
Nearly.
she was dead.
Ooh, if she's dead, this story's about to get good.
But I wasn't dead. I tried once to kick off the habit, but I was too far gone. You know, the police say, find a heroin addict and you find a criminal, and that's just about it. If you're hooked bad, it costs about $30 a day for each.
Half off with a Groupon.
Boys get the money by stealing or swiping car parts.
Join the circus.
Maybe by holdups. Girls take up street walking or do what I did. Become peddlers themselves. When Chuck went to jail, I used his contacts and peddled dope myself.
Bitch, you set him up to
Sure,
steal
I
his
knew
clients.
It was wrong, but when you're hooked, you can't help yourself.
Arrested by the fashion police.
They got
At least
me
they gave the nice
eventually.
heroin addict a drop
That's why
off
they
at the
did
police
Chuck.
station.
And when I was arrested, I was almost glad. I told them I wanted help. I wanted to try and kick it off. It was
Oh,
hard.
it was so horrible. I just couldn't stop
And I
smiling.
didn't care whether I lived or died. It feels like your skin is being torn right off you, and then you ache all over and get sick and you can't breathe. Your nose runs and you have a high fever, and then you pass out, but when you wake up, it starts all over again.
Sounds like my last trip to Vegas.
5 days. But I was lucky. I kicked it off, and I've never used dope since. Maybe what happened to me will keep it from happening to somebody else.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. Could you repeat all that?
And all I hope is that someday I can forget it.
Forget it with
Well, that's
alcohol.
Phyllis's story.
Or crack.
In the
Or meth.
United States of America, 20th century.
It's a fun story, isn't it?
Unbelievable, isn't it, that such things can happen?
Especially to a white
Phyllis's
girl.
case is typical. Most teenagers start off with marijuana. Then they decide to see if heroin has any kick. It
I
does.
get no kick from
Sometimes it only takes a
champagne.
few days to find out they can't leave it alone. In order to get money to buy it, they turn to crime. And that's the story. There are practically no happy endings when you fool with drugs. Doctors say restoring an addict to normal life is about the toughest thing in medicine.
Boy, do doctors
Well,
know.
what's the answer? Enforcement?
Legalization.
Yes, that's one of them, certainly. In the Far East a few years back, they were lining up dope peddlers and shooting them in the back of the head. But it didn't stop addiction. It just made it harder for victims to get the stuff.
And it made it harder for them to wear hats
the
effectively.
answer is a simple one. Just use your head. Leave
Good sense,
narcotics
a Spike Lee joint.
absolutely alone. Remember what happened to Phyllis and others like her. Talk it over with your parents or school counselor, somebody you have confidence in.
Maybe your peddler.
Some say the Reds are promoting dope traffic in the
Damn
United
commies.
States to undermine national morale. They did it in China a few years back.
It was a huge
It's
success.
certainly true that the increased use of narcotics plays right
I've
into
seen
their
Godzilla
hands.
films that were synced better
But
than
why
this.
not show everybody, including ourselves, that young American men and women have too much intelligence to make such a stupid, ghastly,
Oh, that
tragic
Marmaduke
mistake.
is so silly.
Let's make tomorrow's headlines read like this.
It'll be like that internet fad. And that is the terrible truth. I'm Larry Johnson.
I'm done.
I'm Lowry.
Thanks for joining Cineprov. Visit us at cineprov.com for more.